The Northern Lights from my trip to the Sky Station at Abisko National Park, Sweden, north of the Arctic Circle. Here also is the Abisko-Jaka River and the canyon for which the park was created. Now on to forestry. Norway spruce and Scots pine dominate 75% of forests in Sweden. As shade-intolerant species, particularly Scots pine, these forests are typically regenerated with even-age clear-cutting after 2 or 3 commercial Spruce is typically not pruned, while pine self-prunes. The federal government establishes minimum ages for clear-cutting in Sweden, based on site quality and latitudinal zone from south to central to north, with minimum ages of approximately 60 years in the south to 90 in the north. The majority of forest land is certified to FSC or PEFC, which results in some minimum retention requirements of spruce and pine, often wind-thrown here, and also some shorter-lived birch, which usually only sells as low-grade pulp. Other areas that are typically retained include these patches with white ground lichen, which often indicate poor site quality and rocky ground. The understory ground cover of Swedish forests includes lichen and moss, herbs such as lingonberry and blueberry, and fungi such as chanterelle and hen of the wood, all of which may serve as indicator species due to their variance with soil moisture and nutrient gradients. Slash or top treatments typically involve removal for pulp with some lopping and scattering, as shown in this forwarder haul road. Regeneration treatments are typically done 2 years after clear cutting. Old forwarders are often retired as scarification machines outfitted with disc harrows. Most of the time, forwarders use chain tires for traction on the wet ground, except in unusually dry conditions when sparks from chains on rocks could cause fires. Genetically improved stock from nurseries is planted in the scarified sites. Spruce is typically preferred for planting over pine, both due to its less prolific natural regeneration and its greater resistance to deer and moose browsing. Pine is planted on this site due to its lower site fertility. Without scarification, tree seedlings may not root into mineral soil, or they may be outcompeted by ferns like these that capitalize on growing space and gaps. This stand, caught in the stem exclusion phase with neither ingrowth nor regeneration, is representative of many planted pine stands in Sweden prior to clear cutting. These stagnated stands are susceptible to beetles, wind throw, and/or fire. Here's a drone view of this approximately 2-year-old clear-cut pine stand. From either an aesthetics or a late successional biodiversity perspective, this management can be easily criticized, but from a timber production perspective, the scientific literature consistently shows dramatically increases in wood production over the past few decades with even-age management in Finland, Norway, and Sweden. Since Finno-Scandia serves as a wood basket for continental Europe, wood consumption could not stay at its current levels with less intensive forestry, without substituting more greenhouse gas-intensive materials and/or converting agricultural and wooded parkland to timber production. Nonetheless, marginal improvements can be made in this timber production system, particularly in terms of carbon storage. This next drone video is showing a stand my forest carbon client has identified, which is at or above legal clear-cut age. My client is planning to compensate the landowners to defer clear-cutting to 30 years in exchange for carbon offsets. To avert stagnated stem exclusion stands, one commercial thinning of up to 20% basal area will be permitted. An incidental timber market benefit of this extension of rotation age, or ERA, would be greater sawlog versus pulp production. So the characteristics of this site is that it's 11 hectares with 77 years of age on a 70-year clear-cut minimum, the legal requirement, so 23 years would be added. It has 224 cubic meters per hectare of total volume, 24 meters squared per hectare basal area, and is 98% pine. It has a 29 centimeters QMD and 21 meter LH for basal area weighted diameter and basal area weighted height to achieve validation verification to the VCS standard in the next year. For example, the new methodology we're planning to employ, VM0045, currently only applies to the United States, so we will need to revise the standard to apply globally. Much of the criticism of forest carbon projects lately, well deserved, includes methodologies that have allowed project proponents to, within broad parameters, set their own baselines to maximize their offsets, sometimes using only theoretical models, and fix those baselines for a decade. VM0045 overcomes these deficiencies, first by using third-party data from national government sources rather than proponents' own data, second by using actual inventory rather than only model data, and third by using constantly dynamic baselines. So wish us luck on our journey over the next year.